Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 374. Why your team can't build out of the back. Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sega Rabinovich, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with a team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Welcome back to the show. Let's start right away and talk about this weekend's game. So our U10 team, that was my primary game. We played at home, set up the VO, everything was great. Played tier 2, and then after that, I was actually able to rush really quick, clean up really fast, and go to my 2014 U9 second festival game. So let's talk about the under 10 first, and then we'll get into the under 9s. I was only able to record the under 10s because I was so rushed and I didn't want to carry everything, set up everything for the VO. So I was able to really set everything up, and that's what we ended up watching yesterday with our Zoom meeting. So a big shout out again to VO for sponsoring the show. If you're interested in VO, record all the games. They create highlights for you. Absolutely fantastic. They're also having a sale this month. I think it might even be more. I'm not sure, but they're having a sale where you can get a free iPad. I keep doing that. So iPods are just not a thing anymore. So I don't even know why that's in my vocabulary. But anyway, so free iPad with the purchase of any VO2. And everyone has VO now. And if you don't, it's time to catch up to everyone else. Anyway, so we sat a VO meeting. And I got to be honest, the reason I was excited for this game was just to really see the difference between tier 2 and tier 1. And the difference was pretty clear. And it was the same with our team and their team. So our tier 2 team is actually made up of a combination of tier 1 and tier 2 players. But the difference really is in our tier 1 is that it's just players that are all at a very high level. Now, with tier 2, what I find, and this is pretty consistent throughout, is every team has 3 or 4 good players. They have one fantastic player, and the rest of the players are pretty average. And that's what we have as well when we get into our tier 2 games. So we have a lot of our tier 1 players that are really good, and then we have our tier 2 players that I think are good, but they're lacking a little bit of something. So that something could be because they're so young, athleticism, right? Maybe they just were introduced to sports later on in their life, so they're a little bit slow. Their balance is off, stuff like that. From a technical point of view, they're just not as quick. From a tactical point of view, they might be missing a couple of concepts. So it's usually one of those factors. Very rarely it's all of them. But I find that to be the big difference between tier 2 and tier 1 teams. So the team that we played against, one really fantastic player they had. The other players were average, and then they had some players below average. And I thought we actually played pretty decent. Again, made mistakes, but those were tier 2 players making those mistakes. So that was something that I came to expect. But all in all, some fantastic goals. Ended up, I think, it was 1-0 them, 1-1 us, 2-1 them, then 3-1 them, then 3-2, 3-3. They got up 4-3, and then we ended up tying the game. But I thought we played well. There were moments where we really kept the ball really well from just moving the ball from one side to the other. And that really helped us, especially in tier 2. If you can switch the point of attack, if you can switch the ball and really do it very quickly, then most likely you'll have space on the weak side, and then you'll be able to attack. So I found that whenever we did that, we did really well. And there were moments in the game where, struggled a bit from a defensive point of view, just not being physical enough. I think that was a big problem. We talked about it again at the end of the first half, and in the second half, we were much better at it. But that's something that we've been lacking a little bit. It was just not being physical enough right off the bat. And I told the players a story yesterday, and I love this story. You look back at your life and you find things and moments that can hopefully inspire the next generation so they don't make the same mistakes you did. And I'll tell you the story. Why not? So when I was 7 years old, my parents took me to an amusement park. And at that amusement park was a maze. Now, it was a mirror maze. No, sorry, it was a glass maze, not a mirror maze, glass maze. So me, being the 7-year-old confident, arrogant soccer player that I was like, I'll lead the way. No worries. I'm going to run through this, breeze through it. And I started running. And as you can imagine, what happened? I smacked into a piece of glass. That's just what happens when you're running fast and there's glass everywhere and you can barely tell where you're going. So I smacked there. And once I got that smack, the rest of the time, and this is what I asked the players, I said, what do you think happened for the rest of that time that I was in the maze? And they were like, lots of different ideas. And then one player said, well, you were probably pretty scared to get out. And that's true. Once I got smacked, for the rest of the time, I was going really slow. I was very aware of my surroundings. And because of that, it was a whole different maze at that point. I was scared. I wanted out. I wasn't having fun anymore. I wanted it to be over. And what I said was, that first half, the other team was essentially running through us. And we were the glass maze. What I wanted to do in that second half was really have that smack moment. So what is that smack moment? Well, for me, it's as soon as we're defending the player, we get our hands on them. Not fouling, not anything like that, just letting them know we're there. Okay, we're battling for every single ball. And what that's going to do is that's going to create that smack moment. And if we can start to do that smack moment at the beginning of every single game, then for the rest of the game, the team that we're playing against are going to be scared. They're going to always be checking to see where we are. They're going to be in 1v1s. They're not going to want to duel us, right? They're not going to want to dribble against us. So this is what we want to create. From the beginning, from the start, we want to get in there and be physical right away. We're not fouling. We're not doing anything illegal. I want to be super clear. That's not what we talk about at all. We show players how to be physical in the right way using games like Shark Attack. And that's really what I want. I want that moment moving forward. I want that moment at the beginning of the game, and that's going to set the tone. And when I was at Chelsea over the winter break, that was one thing that he spoke about. He spoke about at their U16 game, and I think I told this story before, how one of their teams, it was their U16 in the tournament. They were playing against Arsenal. Arsenal, from the kickoff, moved the ball back to their defense and then just started keeping possession in the back, right? And it was about 5-7 minutes of just Arsenal passing the ball in the back. They held a pretty mid-block, Chelsea, so they didn't really press or anything like that. And then Arsenal saw a player on the wing. Ball went up. It was a long ball to the winger. Winger got it. The Chelsea defender came in, slid tackle, took out ball first, clean tackle, but took out the player. For the rest of that game, that player, every single time he got that ball, was scared, worried, and didn't do anything for the rest of that game. So setting that tone early on is such an important part of the rest of the game, right? The team that you play against, you don't want them to be confident on the ball. That's not something that you want, right? So for me, that's going to be a very important thing. And we're going to talk about this with all the coaches to make sure that this is something that is consistent in what we're looking at moving forward at the start of every game. After that, I went to the under 9 game, our 2014-2015 team. And this was the first game that we had some new 2015. So this was our tier 2 team. Again, exactly the same. I thought we did okay. The team that we played against was just too dirty. They weren't physical, they were dirty. There's a really big difference. There were fouls, it was just not the way that you're supposed to play. But, again, I thought we held our own, again, moved the ball really well in the back. What I find with the under 9s is that the field is sometimes a little bit too small. With the under 10s, the field, there's such a difference between an under 9 and an under 10 field. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. The under 10s are a little bit bigger, but, they're still playing 7v7. So I don't know. But for us, there were moments, again, just like with the under 10s, moved the ball really well. Our 2 new players that we brought up for the 2015, and we're going to continue to do this throughout the summer, bring in more 2015 so they can get ready for their first season as a team. They were okay. One I thought did really well for his first game. The other one, he's 7. That's what I'll say. Sometimes he doesn't pay attention and stuff like that, but all part of that age. So we'll be working with him to kind of keep him more engaged and stuff like that, just to better understand what to do on and off the ball. So I thought overall we did well, especially considering, they hurt 2 of our players. The other team's coaches did nothing about it. The ref didn't do really anything about it. So, it is what it is. But overall, I thought that second game went pretty well, considering, tier 2, new players. And yeah, I thought our goalkeeper performed really well. He struggled last week in our festival, so it was really good to see him bounce back. And again, under 9, this is something we're expecting, right? The consistency, it's not always there, right? Kids are 9, 8 years old. It doesn't have to be there, and that's okay. There are certain things going on, maybe in school, in life. You're 9, you're 8. You're not gonna, some days you're gonna feel tired and this and that, hungry. Maybe you had ice cream. There are so many different factors. So it's okay when a player comes in at 9, 8 years old and they just have an off game. But I think the most important thing when you see that is to be able to see it and then just have a conversation. How are you feeling today? Are you tired? Like, what's going on? And just kind of see if you can get to the bottom of it. And worst comes to worst, the player sits off a little bit more, or the player goes through and plays through it. Both of those are teachable moments and really great moments for you as a coach to create that type of relationship with those kids. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure that they can trust you. And in order to do that, that line of communication has to be open. They have to be okay with asking you questions, making sure that, you are the primary person in case they don't know what to do on the field, right? That's who they need to go to. If they don't know what to do in this situation, they should be able to ask you and you should be able to provide an answer. And there are moments I've had in my early coaching career where I didn't have answers, but I wasn't going to make something up. And I think that's a trap that a lot of coaches fall into. It's okay not to know the answer, right? And there are moments where I go, I'm not 100% sure. Let me think about it, right? I think that's a great answer. Or I can turn it back and say, I'm not really sure. What do you think, right? And get them to, first of all, what that does is it shows that they don't have to have the answers all the time. A lot of the time when you ask questions to kids, they don't know the answer and they'll come up with something that makes no sense. It's okay not to know something, right? I think it's even better to be able to admit that you don't know something. And that's a really important thing to talk about, right? And the only way to do that is to show them that you're an adult, you're someone they trust, right? You're supposed to be the expert. And there's still things that you don't know, and that's okay. So those types of conversations are really great. And I've had those conversations a lot of the time with the 9, 8-year-olds. I think back to some really great players that I've had, and they were brilliant at 8 and 9, and they asked me a question. I go, whoa, I'm not 100% sure. Let me think about it. Or we just talk it out together. I'm not sure, what do you think you should do in this moment, right? When do you drop? When do you attack? What are you feeling in that moment? And I've had that conversation with that goalkeeper. We talk a lot about, when do I come back, right? I'm not a goalkeeper coach. I kind of have the idea of how I want my goalkeeper to play, but I don't know. There are certain times where I'm just not sure about the answer for goalkeepers. So I'll say things, here's what I'm looking for, right? How can we make sure this happens? And there were moments in indoor where he actually came to me and he said, Coach, I think I'm too far up. What happens if they get the ball? What do I do in that situation if I'm almost at half? And I went, that's a fair question. Let me think about it. Or, there were moments where I said, what do you think? When do you think you should come back? Right? Because I'm not 100% sure. And we've had those types of conversations. And last week, our under 12 goalkeeper, no, under 11 goalkeeper had a masterclass of how to play as a defensive goalkeeper. And what did we do in this Zoom session? He came on a little bit early. I went on, showed him exactly what I was looking for, right? And I said, in between, do you see that gap in between the goalkeeper and the defense? Every ball that goes behind the defense and in front of you, that's your ball. That's the ball that I want you to come out and try and attack. Try and win that ball 50-50, whatever it takes there. And I told him, if you get beat sometimes, that's okay. I don't mind that. But that's the role that I want you to play. And then I told him as well, there are going to be moments where sometimes the defenders are going to turn it over. You're going to be a little high up and they're going to try and kick it over your head. Sometimes it's going to work. That's okay. I don't mind that. But that's the role that I want you to play. And having those open lines of communication is so important with players. So we've had that, and I think he did really well that game. And I think we'll see how he does this weekend. But I'm sure he's going to do fantastic now that we've had this type of conversation again. And now he has an even better idea. And I'm talking about a U9 goalkeeper, right? Absolutely incredible for his age. And yeah, so very proud of that team and the way that they worked this weekend. So before I get into today's topic, there's something cool that I did, wanted to share with you. And it'll be something really big moving forward. So here's what I did. As you know, I'm the owner of Gladiator Soccer Academy, and what we do is hire coaches, right? It's a business. We need new coaches. And I wanted to think of a way that I could show the new coaches everything that we do. So I want them to kind of be able to watch video after video about rondos, deceptive dribbling, formations, everything that is in my head. I wanted to show them. So what I did was I built a website for our new coaches to go on and check out. Now, I had a thought. Wouldn't it be cool if I could do this for, you guys, listeners? So I did. So I created a website for coaches like you, parents, or anyone that wants this type of information. Now, I just launched it, so it's not even on Google yet, and it's really just for you at this point, no one else. So the website is soccercoachingmastermind.com. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Again, soccercoachingmastermind.com. It is so new, it's not even up on Google yet. So you would have to write in the full name and, to see it. Now, let me just walk you through kind of everything that I've put in there right now. So I've done some deceptive dribbling. So we've done all the way up to Maradona's. I've done 5v5, 7v7, 9v9, all the formations. And just kind of talking about, movement and stuff like that. And then I've also done a 4-3-3 for the 11v11 video so far. So what's great about this is that this is where I'm going to continue to add videos. So I'm going to start to add rondos. Everything that we do, we'll have sessions, stuff like that, but I'm going to be adding stuff to it monthly. So if this is something that you want, I'm going to do something special just for the first week. Again, it's not on Google or anything like that. So for the first week, what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to give you a 50% discount. It's only $10 a month. So with that 50% off discount, you'll have it forever. It'll be $5 a month forever. You'll get access to all the content that I'm writing and doing and videoing and all that. And you'll have that forever. But I'm only doing it for the first week. So after that, it's just going to stay at $10 a month. But for you guys, since, you've been with me and all that, I decided to do that. So if that's something you're interested in, it'll be until next Thursday. So the coupon code will expire, let me see here, on the June 15th. So on June 15th, it'll expire. So take advantage of it while you can. And again, every month I'm going to be continuing to add videos. There's also some social aspects as well, so you can interact with other coaches on the platform. There is a free plan, but right now there's nothing in the free plan. So I invested a lot of time and everything into it. And I think it's going to be really, really incredible. It's going to be a really good tool for me to share a lot of the stuff that I talk about on the podcast. So I don't put stuff on YouTube, as I'm sure you've seen. YouTube is for the academy. It's simply just games that we play. So this will be a way that I can do this for you guys, for any other coaches that are interested in learning as well. So the code is CSW50. That's Coaching Soccer Weekly, and then 50% off. So CSW50. And again, the website is soccercoachingmastermind.com. You have to type it in. If you go to Google and type it in, it won't show up. It's not even on Google yet. So again, only for the first week. But yeah, so hopefully you like it. And I'm excited. This is going to continue to grow. I'll probably even have some of my coaches upload videos and stuff like that, so you can kind of get to know them as well. But it's going to be a really cool community of coaches, and me just being able to share a lot more than I can. I find that sometimes it's hard to describe things on the podcast. Do the best I can, but there are certain things that you just can't describe. And if you do go into so much detail, like I think what we're going to talk about today, it's going to be very difficult. So this will just make it clear for everyone. And again, it's only $5 a month. That's like a Starbucks coffee. Hopefully you enjoy that. Again, the website is soccercoachingmastermind.com. I'll put that in the show notes along with the coupon code, which is CSW50. So I wasn't able to be at the U11 game this weekend, but what I heard from the coach, the feedback that I got was that we can't build out of the back. We just can't do it. And I started thinking about it. There was something that I wanted to do with the kids this week, a type of tactical rondo that I'll get into a little bit later on. But it just kind of hit me that while we've been coaching rondos, we've been doing, all the coaching point support advice for this foot, losing your defender and all that, we haven't really found a way to focus on the most important thing, which is losing your defender. Now, here's the basic concept. If you are not open, you cannot get the ball. If you cannot get the ball, then it is very difficult to move up the field. That's the basic concept. And we have to train that, because in my opinion, that is one of the most important concepts for players to learn. That if they are not free, they cannot get the ball. And when you build out of the back, the players that aren't free are usually the midfielders. So we have to find a way to make that a priority. It has to be taught. It has to be focused on. And it's not something that can be taught and just left alone. It's got to be consistent. So I want to talk about a tactical rondo that I'm going to be doing with the players to really hammer this down. And I think this is going to be something that we're just going to keep doing moving forward. I really like how I structured it. And I think it can be, well, I know it can be applied to every single age group. So let's talk about what this looks like from an organizational point of view. And then we'll dive into this a little bit more. So the tactical rondo, the way that it looks is really, it's two squares. Okay, so regular rondo for me is a 4v1, 4v2 in a square. So if you can imagine having a double rondo, one on top of the other, and it's vertical. So you have one player north, two players east and west, one player in the middle, and then one player south. Okay, that is the basic double rondo. Okay, and in that you have south is the goalkeeper, east and west wingers, in the middle is the center mid, and at the top is the forward. That's a traditional double rondo. We're going to change it up. Okay, so we're going to start focusing on the 7v7, and then the way that I'll teach you how I came up with it, you can apply to 9v9, 11v11. So let's start with the organization of what this looks like, because it's kind of like a double rondo, but let's talk about it. We're going to take a 2-3-1, okay? For every single defender that you have, you're going to have a square. So what does that mean? Our left defender will be on the south side of their square. The right defender will be on the south side of their square. So if you can imagine that, you have two squares beside each other. There's a gap in the middle, okay, between these two squares. We'll say about 2 to 3 steps. I would say actually 3 to 4 steps, okay? Now we're only going to start by focusing on one team. When we talk about that left defender, on the west side, okay, on the left side, on the west side, you're going to have your midfielder, your wide midfielder, right? Which would be your left midfielder. In the gap between the squares, you're going to have your center midfielder. On the right side, on the east side of the right defender's square, you are going to have your right midfielder. And that's your shape, 2-3. Okay? You're going to do the same thing with the opponent's team. So we have 2 squares on the bottom. Now we're going to have 2 squares on the top. So same principle. Okay? We have our 2 defenders and 3 midfielders. On the yellow team, so let's talk about the first team being black, right? That's the bottom. The yellow team is at the top. And the yellow team is on the left side. The defense has his own square. On the right side, okay, the defender has their own square. Now, on the west side, you have another midfielder. That's your midfielder that is now matching up against the left wing on the black team. In the gap is, again, your center midfield. And then on the east side is your other midfielder. Okay, so again, this can be applied to your 9v9, 11v11. The midfielders, they are at the top and they are in between the top square and the bottom square. Okay, so if we take the left side, for example, here's what that looks like. Okay, left midfielder, black. On the left side, of black winger, right above them, yellow winger, and then you go to the very top of the top square, defender, and then you go into the middle, and then you have a battle one-on-one, and that would be the 2 center mids. Okay, so if we start again at the bottom, we have 2 blacks, 3 midfielders then in the middle against 3 midfielders in yellow, and then at the top it's 2 yellows. So hopefully this is clear at this point. Okay, then what we have is 2 goalkeepers. The goalkeepers each have a net. Okay, so we have a black team goalkeeper and a yellow team goalkeeper. That net is about 5 to 10 steps, depending on how you want to work on shooting. If you really want to work on power, right, you put that net a little bit further back. So now what you have is this formation. 1 goalkeeper, 2, 3 blacks, then 3 yellows, 2 yellows, and 1 goalkeeper, okay, on the yellow team. So it's 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Now what we're looking at here is the situation that we're trying to highlight, which is essentially the only way to move up is for the midfielders to lose their defender because they are tied 1 against 1, and that's the most important situation here. Now, technically we have that 2-3-1 with the forward being the other team's goalkeeper, right? But instead of passing to that player, we're actually just going to shoot the ball. We want to really start getting more shots involved in our training session. But what this also does is it allows you to get a huge advantage in the back, right? So you'll have a 3 against 0. And what we're looking at is the trigger. So let's say my right defender has the ball, okay? That ball goes to the goalkeeper. And as that goalkeeper switches the ball to the left side, the black winger is going to lose their defender as that ball is played. And there is no other way for the black team to get up the field, okay? There is no other way. And if the black player gets the ball, they have an option. They can either 1v1 against the yellow, or they can use their center mid. Now, how do we get the ball to the center mid? Well, the center mid now has to lose their defender. So we're creating this in every single situation, and they can do a give and go, whatever they want. Okay. The instruction that I would give the center mid is that you can go anywhere. I don't care where you go, but you must play in between the gaps of the squares. Okay. So we have 4 squares, and each square has about 5 to 6 yards, something like that, between them. So we can go anywhere, okay? And we can use that that center mid to get up the field. Now, the question is, that's probably popping in your mind, well, Sayev, why is it that the defenders are not playing against anyone? Okay, why are you giving them a 3 against 0? That makes absolutely no sense. That is not realistic. That's not something that's going to happen. They're probably not going to be engaged. They're probably not going to care. Passes are going to be sloppy. And here's why. The big problem that we've had is that our defenders are not scanning. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put limitations on the defenders. And we're going to say that they only have 2 touches max, 1 to control and 1 to pass. So before they get that ball, they have to make that decision, right? They have to scan, which is the whole point of the reason that we don't have defenders here. They're scanning to see what's going on. Who's open? Is it the winger? Is it the midfielder? If none of them are open, reset, switch. Reset, switch. Reset, switch. Reset, switch. Before, remember, we're scanning. Players finally open, loses their defender. We get them the ball. That player can do whatever they want. Don't care. But they have to get up that field. Once we're in the other team's half, because I want this to move quickly, we have a maximum of 5 seconds to shoot the ball. That's it. Because we wouldn't just keep going. We just want to keep building up, building up, building up, building up. And once we get into the attack, I want a shot. I don't care about anything else. I want them to shoot that ball and hit it. Okay? So what we have here is 6 players working on losing their defenders. We have 3 players in the back And then every 5 minutes you switch, or 10 minutes you switch, right? So you'd switch the two defenders and the goalkeeper with the wingers and the center mid, right? So that's an easy 3v3 switch. Now, next level, okay, 9v9. Exactly the same principle. Instead of now 4 squares total, we have 8 squares total. Why? Because every single defender gets a square. So we're playing a 3-4-1, okay? So you have 4 players in the back. You got a goalkeeper, and then you got 3 defenders. And if you want to make it 4, then you have 4 squares in the back, right? And then the way that it would look, it would go 1, 3, 4, black, 4, 3, 1, yellow. And again, now we have 8 players in the middle working on it, okay? Every single time a defender gets that ball, the 2 players that are linked to their square, so let's say the wide defender gets the ball, it would be the wide midfielder and let's go right side. So it would be right side defender gets the ball, the right side winger would get it, would have to lose their defender, and the center right side midfielder would have to lose their defender. When the center defender has the ball, the 2 center mids have to lose their defender, and so on and so forth. So it really gives the players a picture. When a specific defender has the ball, it's their job. When that ball is coming to that defender, they have to start losing their defender, right? So that's really what we're working on. And then we're working on scanning as well, and we're working on shooting. So 3 really great concepts, but again, most important, lose your defender. Okay, so this is that. Now, I will add this to the website as well. So it'll be, I'm not sure, I'll probably add a new tab to it. So if you want to see how this looks on a like actually visually, then I'll put it up there for you to check out as well. But yeah, I think it's one of the things that we're not working on enough in general, losing your defender. It's a concept we toss out in rondos, but if it's a 4v2, are you really working on it? There isn't a player on you, right? For us, for example, when we're defending, we talk about tag. As soon as we lose the ball, can we go and tag the back of of the player we're playing against? And if we're doing that, that's our player. We're 1 against 1. That's not a 4v2 situation, okay? So this is what we're trying to do now within a session, and creating this, I believe, is how we'll do it. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of Coaching Soccer Weekly. It's really important to have the players understand this concept of losing your defender. I think it's something that we've neglected, and using this new training activity, I think it's really going to help. There's a lot of more benefits to it. I actually did upload the video to the website. It's going to be under podcasts. I think it's called podcast resources or podcast videos. That's right. So podcast videos. So you'll be able to go in, and there's a lot of more benefits that I didn't really get into, defensive, and I'll show you how to structure it a little bit more. So if that's something you're interested in, again, you can just check out the website. The website itself is soccercoachingmastermind.com. It'll be in the link below. And remember, for the first week, so until next week, first week I'll give you a 50% off promotion. So instead of paying $10 a month, it'll only cost you $5. So if that's something you're interested in, we'd love to have you in that as well. Thanks to Vio for sponsoring the show. And until next week, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, but most importantly, enjoy the game. Coaching Soccer Weekly is a production of World Class Coaching. All rights reserved.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. And you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.